Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, Thursday morning, May 23rd, 2024, here with the Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access, rightfully so. As I mentioned yesterday, the extent of that goes individually, personally, universally, and contributes unconditionally throughout the spectrum of that which is creative and artistic and that which is not creative and artistic. Brenda Simmons is here with us this morning. I can't believe that actually you're here for the second time.
I am, and I'm trying to wake up again. But it's a pleasure being with you again. It really is.
I think that the too late to turn back.
Yes, 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 yes.
and uh, and I think that I'm even though I'm accustomed to doing what I'm doing here, I'm always leaving room for surprises and
Mm.
for the fact that I want to allow myself enough room to maybe uh, tackle the unexpected or really excel myself to a level that is not familiar to me. And I know that with you, with you I can do it. And it's like all it takes is just a willingness in place to interact and to say a word or to spell a sentence, and then the conversation is picking up in a very natural way, in a very given way. So you were, I mean, I love the way you're concerned about what it is that we're going to talk
You
about.
know, it's really, something you said. I have to make a remark on that. I think it's something that's great that we can do now, that we can open up. Because I think sometimes we block ourselves sometime and we don't experience and explore and we miss out on something. So, as much as I would have liked to understand what I was talking about today, I love, though, just flowing. I really do.
Yeah, and it's all, the bottom line, it's all about creativity. It's
It's
all about
true.
poetry. It's all
It's
about the
true.
written verse.
It's
It's
true.
all about the willingness to put the effort in place,
It's true.
like put it forth like you would, like you are, like I
Mm-hmm.
am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you started there, or you start those issues regarding the museum that I would like to hear more about today.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it you didn't quite know what the end result will be. I mean, you had a picture in your mind, but you weren't sure that that's going to materialize or not. And if it is, maybe it will materialize in a way that is a little different than the way you envisioned it.
Mm-hmm.
But you pressed and you pushed, and you didn't say, "Well, if I don't understand what's going on, I'm not proceeding." Most of the time, we don't understand. Writing poetry, you don't understand what you're doing, even though you have, unless you're really one of a kind. How many Picassos we have? How many, you know, you know. The likes of him we have. Few here and few there through the generations, but it doesn't mean that in between there not exist a special breed of huge group of people.
I know over in my lifetime, I've discovered things that I didn't know that was in me. And that's by continuing to move forward and to continue to explore and to continue to meet people and just be open, And I've been reflecting on my life. I was just sharing. I'm reflecting on my life, and I think it's the age. I already explained my age last show. I think we began to reflect on our life and where we are now and things that we've accomplished, things we haven't accomplished. But right now, I'm really looking at, we talked about the museum. It was a 16-year project for me. Um,
It's
and
amazing that it took so long, huh?
it took so long because um, it is in Southampton, and I'm not going to talk bad about Southampton
Yeah,
because I'm born and raised there. Um, but the fact of the matter is, as I said last show, I'm a very honest, straight person. That most people don't think even Black people even live there, So that challenge was also that the barbershop, which is really now the museum, um, had been there, and then it was kind of abandoned for a few years. And so the time I was actually in the process of doing this museum, here's this building there looking kind of desolate, and people wondering what the hell is going on, and why don't, and even a letter came across the desk, which I think I mentioned, to tear the building down. And that was in the process. But the thing is, too, I had the compassion and the connection. And my auntie was a beautician there, and I used to go in there when I was very young to answer the phones for her. But a letter came across the mayor's desk when I was assistant to the mayor to tear the building down, and that sparked me then to get. But I had the compassion, but I didn't have the knowledge of how to run a museum. So the National Trust Preservation, I might get the name screwed up. They had a lot of workshops that I attended, and I was able to get actually a scholarship. And I went to all different places in the country, to these workshops to learn how to run a museum.
Yeah. And so you experience a lot of kind of personal reflection when it comes to, for example, you say that some people, which is like crazy to think, don't even think that black people live in Southampton, which is kind of ridiculous. But probably it's real on the surface. But that leads you to have your personal reflection about your place in the world,
Hmm.
your place in the community.
Hmm.
I'd like to hear more about that.
Well, born and raised there, again, reflecting, I never really thought of growing up of the difference of being black or white or whatever, because literally I lived across the street from this white family
And I
named.
mean, it is a constructive aspect of the whole picture. I meant this way, really.
Say
It's
again?
helping you grow,
Oh, for
really.
sure.
So it's a
It's for
constructive
sure.
aspect of this whole
Absolutely.
challenging reality, so to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because you can go the other way, but I was always open, and I love hearing other people's culture. I love meeting people, so that was my personality anyway. So I lived across the street from a white family named the Millers, and we were like brothers and sisters. We shared each other's food and all kinds of stuff, and so it was for me. It wasn't until I think I mentioned the incident last time that my mom didn't want us to go down Job's Lane because of the experience I had, what I
Oh
mentioned
yeah, that
last week.
story is still stuck in my
And
mind.
it's real. So
Oh
it
my!
wasn't until that moment it hit me that, oh, I guess something is different here that I didn't understand. And even in high school, I haven't shared this story, but I'll share it today. I was in study hall, and of course it was during that time where the black and white connection was trying to come together. It was during that 70s, beginning of 70s. And I was in study hall with this white gentleman, and I'm gonna call him out, Mark. Um, and we kind of liked each other. And he asked me to the prom.
I love it.
But the interesting thing about it is, my mom and dad told me I couldn't go
Oh my
because
god!
they were afraid. They weren't. My parents were from the South, from the Jim Crow, the Great Migration era. And again, the story I shared about me not going, asking me not to go down Job's Lane and
So
having that
their concern
experience.
was real.
Their concern was real. They were protecting me. And at that moment, during that time, you just obeyed your parents. You didn't rebel. You just say okay. But the interesting thing about it is, I ended up going to the prom with a young man in my neighborhood, and it didn't go so well. But anyway, Mark was at the event, and we did have a dance. So
Okay,
that was something that I kind of felt like, I not that I didn't rebel against my
bringing you
parents.
kind of closer to a resolution,
Exactly.
kind of.
And the fast forward, the funny thing about it, I had this thing for him. I really did, for years and years and years. And I knew his brother. His brother still now has a business now in Southampton, and his brother lives in California. Tim had to tell me that his brother was coming to town. I was so excited. And we finally went to lunch. And Mark never remembered that.
Really?
I was so excited to share with him about, did you remember that? And he's looking at me like a blank. And I was so disappointed
What do you
after
think
all
that
these
was?
years.
What do you think that
Because
was?
men, are they hassled? I'm just going to
Oh,
say they don't remember stuff like that. I almost said a curse word.
I mean, it's a biggie though. But anyway,
I think,
um,
no, seriously, I think women are more sensitive to things like that. And
yeah,
it's not that And he felt so bad because he could tell I was so excited, but I still was remembering. And he was looking at me like a complete blank. And I'm saying, it's like, are you serious? You don't remember this? And he shook his head to me. Finally, he says, no, I don't. I'm like, wow. After all those years, I mean, it
Yeah,
was like years later.
yeah. Right.
but
So
but it's life, it's life. And I just think it is just I can not, like I said, I didn't have anything against him. And I continue to stay open to life, and to begin, like you said, to begin to know who I am and to begin to grow. And I think this is something we do on our journey of life. We continue to grow and we can to know who we really are.
and and it's interesting because as an artist, I always look for outlets that spell salvation for me, but not in a religious
Mhm,
context.
mhm,
Even
mhm,
though I'm probably more religious than I'm aware that I am.
mhm, mhm,
I know a lot about the Old Testament. I know a lot about the big stories. I know a lot about Kabbalah, but but salvation is more like trying to achieve a shortcut ahead of time, so you don't have to actually take the shortcut. You
ah,
can achieve it just by thinking
mm,
of the possibility
mm,
and the fact that indeed I know all of my kids, they understand what shortcuts are because they're so aware of their surroundings. So if I drive them somewhere, at the beginning they said, "Are we going to school?" I said, "No, Papa is taking a shortcut." So now every time we're going somewhere that they know where we're going, but they realize that it's not the route. They said, "Papa, you're taking a shortcut,
I
aren't you?"
love it. I
So
love it.
that's a biggie.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
biggie because I
absolutely.
think that there it gives them more than just what seems obvious.
Mhm.
But the salvation and apropos, it's like a statement that actually serves as a question to you.
Mm,
Uh, the role of salvation, personal relieving of clusters of challenges and demands that life opposes on us. The voices that we hear, and when we look around, no one is there other than us. What
mm,
do we make out of them?
mm,
Are they friendly? Uh,
mm,
are we allowed to acknowledge them? Uh, 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 shall I accept them into my life? Shall I resist them, resent them? Shall I push them away? Um, is it in relationship to our creative process, art? Let's say when I'm in my studio, I heard noises, I heard sounds,
mhm,
and some kind of wave of kind of shadows or whatever it is, and I could have easily just went outside and came back inside to start fresh, but I said, why not? I'm gonna improve my acting skills, and then I'm gonna cross implement it to my paintings, and I'm gonna put it to good use and all that. So even in the moments of my privacy and solitude, I still felt strange acknowledging these voices.
mm,
You know,
mm,
I said, "How come?
mm,
Nobody's observing me. Nobody's gonna
mm,
point at me. Oh, something is wrong with you. Nobody's
mm,
gonna place an opinion.
mm,
I'm there."
mm,
So it took me years because I wanted to continue to acknowledge the presence of that which I'm not seeing,
mhm,
because I know that I can only benefit from it and I
mhm,
can use any help that I can,
mhm,
especially a person like me. I'm fully involved with art, but I have no kind of educational background or whatever, and this and that. So I have to kind of catch up with life, with the demands, with reality in order
mhm,
to,
mhm,
complement that void.
mhm.
So not that I'm assuming that you hear voices when no one is around, but metaphorically speaking, is that a factor in your life where there's a feeling of a presence next to you
Absolutely.
in your journey, and that it has a solid part of what your journey is all about, and how do you relate to it?
It's funny. What I'm going to share with you, I don't share with everyone because everyone is not on that same level, or not, I shouldn't say level, on that same page.
Compatibility, maybe.
But because you are leading me that way, I'm going to share that yes, I do believe that there is, you know, I think everybody thinks there's something there or some kind of higher power, whatever. But for me, absolutely positively, again, reflecting on my life, I can say, there's a scripture that talks about your steps are ordered. And I know absolutely positively my steps are ordered. And I'm going to share, you have me sharing things that I usually don't share openly with
Okay,
people.
good. See,
But as a young girl, I used to have this extra sense of people when I met them. And to me, it was a little scary because I didn't understand why I had this feeling when I met people. But as I got older, I began to recognize it and really just enhance, just embrace it. And I'm just going to share. It's like I can meet someone for the first time, just like how I met you, and it's almost like a radar, and I can sense if that person is for real or they're not. And when I first started feeling this way, I kept like saying, "Oh, let me just try again. Let me just be in that person's presence again, because maybe I'm off." That was my
to confirm,
to confirm exactly. But now, absolutely positively, I know that I know that I know when I meet somebody from, I mean, literally.
especially after I brought you your cup of coffee. That was a
But even at the meeting when I first met you at the Tuesday Club on
yes,
Thursday,
yeah, Thursday. Yes,
that's when I sensed, because I'm telling you, when I was talking about myself, when I was sharing, when I was at the point when I was sharing with the group, I noticed that you were really paying attention to me. You were really listening. I mean, I'm sure everybody was listening to me, but I mean, you were like leaning in, and I noticed that. So that did something for me, that you were really paying attention. You were really, interested about what I was saying. And not
your
everybody, that always,
honesty, your honesty captured me. The fact that you
mm,
say about jobs, oh, I got this job because I knew the right people. People don't volunteer this information. I said this woman is feeling comfortable with this. That stands for something unique.
mhm.
That in itself.
But that's like I said, that's when again the sense, I sensed you without you even saying anything. But then afterwards, we shared and we exchanged, and here we are for the second
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So that's something that I know, that those voices. I mean, a matter of fact, I tap in. I make sure I tap in. And I have gotten off track many a times, doing my thing, doing my thing, doing my thing. But when it all comes down to it, I tap back in, and I do the meditation in the morning, and I do as my daily, as assistant to the mayor, and even as the founding executive director of this museum, I have to tap in,
Yes.
because it's so much that I'm responsible for, that it can be overwhelming. And that has been happening to me. And I've learned even now, because we have our official opening for the season on tomorrow. Then on Saturday, we have our first art exhibition reception. And so it's a lot to prepare for that. And it was almost overwhelming. My exhibition is supposed to be going up on Monday, and unfortunately, the gentleman who always is there for me never showed up, never called. So I had to scramble to find somebody else. So all those things were, but I said to my friend, my best friend, I said, Debbie, I said, I'm calmer now. I remember times I would have just been off the chain. Somebody, give me a pill, do something
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, yeah.
But it's almost like at that moment I stopped and I said, this is going to work out.
Yes, of
It's
course.
already worked out,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how, but it takes time and practice to sometimes regroup and get to that place. But yes, I do have a connection.
Yes, and to think that all everything is in a day's work,
Mm-hmm.
and even though it sounds like a shallow statement, but it's a very significant one. What's the difference between me and the president of the United States? He doesn't have more hours than I do. He has the tasks that with some aids and some reminders and all this, just like I would have my own pathetic list that's staring at me in the car because I cannot glued it to the dashboard or
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean at some point you're gonna have to eat and go to the bathroom, you're gonna have to sleep, you're gonna have to this. At some point suddenly you feel, oh my god, I have a headache, or things that come out of nowhere, things that you expect, things you don't expect. At some point you're gonna have to major decisions, whether to
Mm-hmm.
spend your last $100 on this and that, or whether to send that message to the foreign minister of this country or not.
It's true.
So it's not, of course, I cannot compare myself to the president of the United
Mm-hmm.
States,
Mm-hmm.
but the weight of importance of my daily ordeals is compatible with the weight of that,
Mm-hmm.
with that which the president faces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The beauty is that we can do whatever we want by way of deciding to think whatever we want to think.
It's
Now,
true.
I learned something with one of the Bible studies that says if God wouldn't have given us choice, then this world couldn't have existed really.
Mm.
It just it wouldn't make sense at all.
Mm.
And God will not create something that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we asked the question, why did the ultimate power want to even deal with this reality? What kind of what is it exactly? So you have to go all the way to the basic nature of that ultimate source that happens to be good.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's good, there's an automatic natural desire to share
Mm-hmm.
and to give.
Mm-hmm.
So for that you have to create needy creatures,
Mm-hmm.
but needy of that specific thing that you have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And that which you have to offer has no limit. That's why you have the 10 spheres, just as much as if I'm going to charge this iPhone, I'm not going to go to the main station and connect it to the station because it will vaporize in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have this outlet and the power that came from the station reduced to serve this.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly with God, exactly with life,
Mm-hmm.
exactly with what that which He created.
Mm-hmm.
So you say to yourself, so what's the idea of having an imagination that can put to shame the speed of light, for example, um, or maybe achieve proximity to the presence of God in an instant, becoming acquainted with that which is forbidden to even consider that connection with, and um, and the ability to even reach that destination, but by way of imagination you are always there. You landed on the crown of God. You're sliding through the shoulder of God onto the his his jacket pocket, and you sorting through all the contents of what God has in his jacket pocket. And then you even indulge in taking a few things and making it your own.
Mm-hmm.
And then you travel back, but you don't even use traveling
Mm-hmm.
to go back to the basics, so to speak, which is Earth, which is the it's called the kingdom and all this.
Mm-hmm.
So you ask yourself, why would, in addition to that, we will get so much power by way of having an imagination that we can utilize it so instantly and so completely and so powerfully, because His goodness doesn't know boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And when He say, "I created you in my own image,"
Mm-hmm.
He wants to prove to us that He's serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
That means when He does that, it must survive and exist and thrive forever,
Mm-hmm.
because it cannot go against itself. God cannot annihilate that particular piece that He took out of itself in order to create that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's the ultimate force, He created it in such a way that He cannot replenish it by either taking it away or by creating it and completing that which He gave to this world and human beings in order to create it. Now, it sounds very complicated, but it's not, because, so you say, um, therefore, our imagination is our religion. That's what I wanted to say.
Wow. That was a lot.
but,
And
but
how do
you,
I respond to that?
because if we speak of Jesus or Moses, we can only imagine. We don't have a picture. We don't have a clear view that serves as a point of reference. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we can, but we have our imagination, and anything you're going to come out with will be viable
You
and
know,
acceptable.
but you know something you said as you were talking, and you talked about that we were created in His image, and in His image He is love. In His image it is good. And I believe all of us have that choice of being the love and the good. So I'm going to come back with you. So why is it that people choose not to be love and not to be good?
Because they have a choice.
I know they have that choice. So okay, right. So that's what it comes down to, that choice. But I also feel that um sometime, we talked about this, I think, last show, about sometime we're part of our environment as well. And sometime I think the good that is really in some people have been destroyed or affected or defected because of things. But that has been my challenge because
Yeah, but these
I
are challenges by way of the existence of evil in our lives
right.
that we have to overcome. This is the way we improve.
That's true. That's true. And that's funny you say that, because I've learned too now, in my journey of life, that there is always going to be evil. So it's almost to a point where, you, like you said, it comes back to you. Well, how do you handle this? Are you going to be evil too, or are you going to stand to be good and to be love? And that's what I've been challenged to do. And everybody has their own makeup. Everybody knows who they are. And I am love. And I really, my heart of hearts is to be good, you know. But all of us have that choice to be evil sometime. We it's all of us have that in us, and I've had to check myself when I've come to a place where, the good, the all the good that I've been trying to continue is almost like it's gone. So I'm at that place now. I'm on that crossroad of like turning evil, and I never do that. I can say maybe words have come out of my mouth that I wish I didn't say, because I felt like I've been pushed against the wall with it and cornered. But then after it was all said and done, I don't feel good about what I've said.
But you can always turn around and
And
apologize.
I do.
And you
And I'm
say,
the first to do that.
yeah,
The first to do that.
and you know what? And I many, many times apologized in the past when I didn't feel like I should.
I know.
But I did,
But it's to keep peace.
Yeah, yeah. Not
And
only to keep peace.
sometime you do that too. There's another thing in the Bible talks about when you put coals on their tongue, or when you turn around and be good to somebody that hasn't been good to you, and they know they don't deserve to be. It's something about when you really are good to them, it does something to them. It makes them uncomfortable. It kind of checks them, that maybe I should have done something different. So yes, it's been plenty of times when I've said the apology when I know good and well they should have said the apology, but to keep the peace and to actually almost, continue to stand my ground who I am. But also I've learned to see how sometimes it really does affect that other person. It might even help them now never to do that again, or never to say that again. Not all the
Yeah,
time, but sometimes.
because they will realize probably that they were at fault, and suddenly you're apologizing. So that's kind of humbling them, and
Absolutely.
all that.
Absolutely.
But going back to, for example, the Garden of Eden and all this,
Mm,
like, why would God create Adam and Eve? And He says, "Oh, this is all this goodness, but don't touch this tree."
mm,
Like, okay, what are you
mm.
trying to do here?
It's
Like,
about
what?
obedience, I
Yeah,
think,
but
too.
what is it? Why are you setting us to fail?
Mm,
100%
mm,
surety of failure. Why? Why?
mm,
Why? I mean, it's almost like you create us with this nature that speaks for the high probability that indeed we're going to eat from that tree.
mm-hmm,
If anything, we won't eat anything else but this tree,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because this is how you created us.
mm-hmm.
But He wants us to gain access to that which is almost inhuman, to exceed and excel to such heights that you can change your nature,
And I think
reconstruct your nature. That's the whole
yes,
idea.
yes, and I think I can't remember who I just saw this from, but someone talked about how in failure, that's how you learn. In failure, that's how you end up learning about who you are, establish who you are. So it's something, maybe, I never thought about the way you're presenting it in the garden that way, but maybe maybe that was his purpose too, so we can get to know who we really are and who he created us to be.
And also, after they ate, He comes to Adam and he wants to say, "What's up? What's going on?"
And what does he do? He
Eh,
blames. He blames. He blames
Yeah,
Eve.
but then he kicks him out of the garden.
Hmm.
Okay, he kicks him. He says, "Oh, you're going to have to go and start venturing work hard, sweat, this, that, and you're going to have kids, but you're going to really feel pain and challenges and suffer and
Mhm.
whatnot.
Mhm.
But what's the first thing he does after they leave the garden? He goes back to the garden, God Himself,
Mhm.
and He fortifies the entrances to the garden.
Mm.
He puts the double-edged sword
Mm.
from both ends. He puts the lions. So why would he? What? Why would he worry that they even stand the chance to go back to the garden? Why does he have to protect the garden from the possibility of them returning to the garden? He's God.
I never
And
thought
so
of
the
that.
thing is, he's second guessing himself in a way
Mm.
because he's realizing that he gave so much to creating in my own image is like a little tiny touch, but it ends up being so much that it's a reality that even the source that's responsible for its creation cannot argue with it. It's a fact. He set up a fact
Mm.
that serves as an obstacle and a challenge to the ultimate source, to the ultimate power, in the same way that he does to us. And even when he goes to Cain that killed Hevel,
Mhm.
and he asks him, "Where's your brother?" Why is he asking, "Where's your brother?" Like he doesn't know where's your brother, or maybe he wants to see what kind of an answer is he going to get.
Mm.
But then he knows that, for example, they describe how Cain killed Hevel, and in the secret writings, they describe that he stabbed him 1,000 times.
Mm.
So God asked him, "Why did you have to stab him so many times?" He says, "Because I didn't know what it means to kill.
Mm.
So I wasn't sure if I stab him once, he's going to die. So I stabbed him 1,000 times."
Mm.
Things like that. So
Mm.
he's saying, God is adamant, God is almighty, God is good, and God is challenging. So all these qualities actually being exported into the heart of the human being that he's so gracefully and graciously allowed to happen.
Well, I think when you say it that
And it's
way,
and it's not bad to think about it at least once a day. You know
I
what I mean?
never I never thought of all of this how you're saying, but it's making me think. And I'm just thinking at this point that now that we are created and we're living this life, I think we all probably have experienced. He wants maybe to allow us to experience those failures because he showed us how we, made different choices. We weren't obedient, but then when it all comes back down to it, he's a forgiving God and he's graceful. He has this grace that he allows us back into that garden.
But what about the consequences? Consequences don't go away, even though he's a forgiving God.
Of course, it's not because he basically lets you see that probably if this is how if you were obedient and did it this way, that wouldn't have happened. Because I definitely believe in karma. I mean, that's just I've seen it too many times that it comes around, and that's why I think that's that balance. You have to see that, okay, maybe the lesson won't be for that person, maybe a lesson be for that child, the family, or whoever in that family or in that environment, that okay, because this person did that, this is what happened, so maybe I shouldn't do it this way, I'll do it a different way,
Yeah,
and so
but
I
these
won't have those
but
consequences.
these consequences can spell as the end of your probability to thrive.
This is
It can
true.
put an end to it.
This is
So
true.
it can be very hurt, very
But I think,
devastating.
he has also has you really get me into the scripture now, which I'm a little versed on some of the stuff. He says about forgiving 7 times 7. He talks about how you have to forgive and forgive and forgive and forgive. So see, that's another. And then he also says that we should ask for forgiveness. So in that place, he's telling, I feel like we're talking about this, that when you say, I'm, oh God forgive me, or that, or you ask a person to forgive you, I think it puts you back in that grace place. And I think you have another chance. But I think after a certain amount of time, he's trying to ask you, I believe, that you get to learn the lesson. Can you learn the lesson? And after a while, it's almost like, okay, I guess you need to suffer consequences at
But
this
you
point.
cannot ask for forgiveness unless you go through the process of repenting first.
Well, of course.
But it's not, of course. It's like because people think that they say, "Okay, I'm sorry." Well,
You're
let's
right.
sit down and see what it really means to
Because
say,
some people are saying they're
"I'm
sorry
sorry."
and
But
they're not sorry.
repenting meaning that you
You
really,
really sincerely.
you yourself reinventing yourself,
Exactly.
reinventing the moment,
Mhm.
reinventing the
Mhm.
occasion,
Mhm.
and also ending up that at the end of that, when you conclude, you're actually on a higher kind of
And
pedestal.
God knows our heart.
Yes.
So, I can say to you, "Oh, Haim, I'm so sorry." And meantime, I'm cussing in my breath that I really don't mean it, but I'm just saying it because I want you to make me think that I'm sorry. But the bottom line, and I think that's where, I'll say this, that no matter what we do and what we try to fake to do, the bottom line is God knows everything. And I think we talked about earlier about this sense that we have. I think we can sense when someone sincerely is asking for forgiveness and they have repented and when they haven't. Because usually you can find out later on if they're turning around doing the same thing, they're really not sincere. But see,
Yeah.
that's on them. But it's for us though to make sure that we try to stay good with the person. And that's usually sometimes my challenge is after a while, and that's maybe now that I'm thinking about this, maybe that's the God thing. After a while, after person, I've given the person, so many chances, and after a while, I get to that place where I feel like, okay, this person is who they are. They're not going to change, and so at that point, sometime I just kind of like dismiss myself from that person. I will speak to you. I will, be cordial, but I ain't going to lunch with you.
Yeah, and then especially because you're not going to remember later that you went to lunch with me, but or had the dance with me. But it is a man now. Okay, I accept that at face value.
Hmm.
But I want to go all the way back to the studio. Okay, everyone's studio like state of um, uh, place of refuge.
Mm,
Where
mm,
we guaranteed to get to know ourselves better and better. Um, and and but not in a passive way, because what when we go back to that place of refuge, we have to um, unleash all the reservoirs of whatever it is that we collected, because this is the place of worshiping. When you paint a painting, you worship, and you think of a plan, a creative plan to put one and one together and have an end result that is playful and accommodating. That's called worshiping. Um, so how do we fortify our experience in that zone of solitude,
mm,
to come out of it mentally stronger
mm,
rather than puzzled? Because it can really puzzle us, like, what was just that? It's almost like you feel heart palpitations, but you fail to realize that something exciting just happened that most probably caused that.
mm,
So you're not trained to do one and one together, but when you're trained to do one and one together, this will be in the future the first thing you will consider as a reason of why you're going through certain things, and not think that this is what we call today panic attacks, or stress scenario that comes out of nowhere, and either you need a pill, or you need the meditation, or you need something. You need to take a walk. I remember that, what, I think 30 years after my army service, I realized that I have a PTSD.
mm,
30 years.
mm.
And it's not like I had episodes for 30 years
Mhm,
until
mhm,
I came to grip with it, and all this. So I was with my friend in Israel in a party and all this, and we were happy and we were laughing and all this. And Sunday I just felt like I am going to die now.
mm,
It was like crazy.
mm,
Not in a bad way or anything, but I just felt like something is climbing on my chest, and it almost
mm,
reminded me the days that I took Tai Chi with Claire Houghton. Claire
mhm,
Houghton, a wonderful individual,
mhm,
no longer with us, and all this. And she used to say, "Your chest is so stubborn." She used to jump at me and
mm,
and and grasping me like a gorilla, and
mm,
press my chest inward and
mm,
let go,
mm,
let go. I said, "Yeah, easy for you to say." I mean,
mm,
you're like, anyway.
mhm,
So so I signaled my best friend there and I said, and he took one look at me. He knew that I'm in distress. He didn't know
Mhm.
why. I
Mhm.
said, "You got to take me out." And he said, "What's going on?" I said, "First of all, I need to go out and I need your company." So we're going down the stairs, we're going into the street, and I said, I just felt like I'm going to explode there to pieces, to shreds. I knew just as much as I didn't know about the nature of that moment. But it humbled me and belittled me so much
Mm.
that I realize now all my recollection of other people spelling their description of their misery and their vulnerability in those moments as unbelievable, second to
Mhm.
none.
Mm.
Suddenly I began to appreciate that rather than dismiss that.
Mhm. Mhm.
What's your problem? Why are you making such a big deal out of-" And
Exactly.
suddenly, wait a second, you know? So now, if I had to apologize, I would have to call 1,000 people to
Yeah, yeah,
apologize
yeah, yeah.
for 10,000 incidents that
Mm.
I never verbalized it,
Right.
externalized it, but I thought it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
now we're realizing that this moment of uh, of of that a scenario that creeps in and destabilize your immediate reality, your
Mhm.
immediate vicinity,
Mhm.
your stage is wobbly suddenly,
Mhm.
is something that is trying to tell us something, and we need to find out what is the relevance to that moment.
Absolutely. I
How is
think
it relating to what we're going through at that particular
and
moment?
I think, listen to your story and just thinking, in reality of it all, that I think those moments happen to all of us. And I think it might be God giving us that moment to check ourselves, to see who we are, and to be at that place where, like you said, we begin to recognize and to be thankful for all of those things. And I think when you're talking about, the person holding your chest or saying your chest is hard, I think a lot of it too, as I talked about last week, we had so much that we've dealt with in our childhood that I think we have a heaviness that we don't even realize until it's released, until we get rid of it. And I think it's moments like you shared and moments in everybody's life when you come to that, almost like that crossroad, when you're saying, what is going on, but then you address it and then you find out what it is, and then you grow from it, and then you begin to know who you are. And I think those moments are just special moments. And I don't know if it's God or not. Maybe it is, but I just do believe that it's those moments that we all have had that we've grown from, and it makes us who we are. And we've had many of them. I'm sure. I've had. I mean, I remember I had a time where, again, you have me talking about things I never thought I'd talk about.
But are you able to evaluate your process of growth in that
Yes.
sense?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I was saying. I've been in a place in my life now where I've been reflecting on those moments, and it's almost a joy. I mean, at
It
the
has
time,
nothing to do with religion. It's just who
no,
we
it's
are. It's
just who
like,
we are. And I remember now, reflecting. I remember times when I had things in my life. I had a really bad divorce. I remember things in my life where I thought I would never even make it another day. When I felt like, I can't. I have to. I want to give up. But it was those moments, choice, making a decision, that I kept going. And it was something that kept me going. It was a connection. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to go deep in it, but you already kind of alluded to it. I felt like because I had that connection, because I mean, it was one point in my life where I have a lot of, I'm going to say this without getting into details. I have a lot of compassion now for people I see on the street that have lost it,
yeah,
because I was almost there.
yeah,
And so I have a lot of compassion but I held on. I felt like I held on to the hem of his garment. And I'm going to
yeah.
say it just that way. And that kept me between that and knowing that
And
I
it's
want to
really
raise my kids. I love my kids, and I felt like I had to stay here for my kids. But at that one moment, I felt like, let me just kind of lose it, and it'd be I'll have
yeah,
to worry about nothing. I'll be carefree.
yeah,
You know,
and but but I think at the end of the day we realize that it's more of a common occurrence than we think it is.
absolutely.
So that's actually making it better because what's the big deal? Like once my doctor said, "Listen, go home, but don't pretend that your life is not under full of pressure." Do not. That's your number one enemy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Your life is challenging, all this. Go, accept it at face value, and create your own scenario of how you're going to balance things out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
you want to do whatever, you want to do prayers, you want to do whatever it is that you want to do. You want to invent something new. It's all up to you, but don't pretend like it's not. Um, and don't go saying to yourself, "Oh, you can make it. You can." No. This is verbal crap. It's amazing how a medical doctor managed to give me a crash course that prevented me from seeing a shrink for 10 years.
But you know, the thing that
Yeah.
I think about that when you say that, what comes to me is that's my challenge with um, raising your child to think that the world is so wonderful and they're never going to have. I mean, sometimes we do that because we want to protect our kids, our children. I think like my mom was trying to do, but at the same time, I think they have to go through some things to be empowered to be able to deal with life. And I
Yes.
think that's the challenge. I think that is happening now with some people in a certain generations that they're weak and they're just
All
they
they
don't
have
know
is
how to
you.
handle.
All they have is you. All they have is you. They have nothing. You know what I mean? Like I know it on day in and day out. All the way from putting this socks, from holding this, breaking them up, holding her hair when she washes her face, and
Mhm.
making sure she's rinsing her mouth 3 times and all
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
They have you. They have nothing but you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
and those. But I want to stop here. First of all, I want to say Brenda Simmons is here with us on May 23rd, year 2024, here on a Thursday morning here with the Hello Hello Show. Do you have a poem to read?
I do, but it's in my phone and I have to get it. But
Okay.
I'll get it right now.
Yeah, you can do
And I
that.
had a feeling I should have put my
Okay.
phone here because I had a feeling you was going to ask me about poems. And I actually went through some poems last night, just in case. And
Just,
I'm gonna try to figure out which one I want to read to you today.
I urge you not to think which one. I urge you to open your phone and scroll and stop and say, "This is the one I'm going to read."
Okay, let's see what we're gonna do here. I actually meant to bring my phone. Okay, this is the one.
Okay, sorry, I'm
It's okay. It's
multitasking.
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Like you said, I just opened up and this is the one I'm going to read.
I love it. I love
And
it.
I wrote this one actually January 10th, 2023, while I was in St. Martin. And the title of it is I Am Me. I am me, not the me you see, not the brown wood earrings or the turquoise blue nails. I am me, not the mistakes I made or the failures that tried to shame. I am me. Not the way I walk or the way I wear my hair. I am me from the inside where the spirit lives. Intuitive and sublime, compassionate to let my light shine so you can see me. I am me. Sitting quietly at the brink of a sunset, nestling over the Caribbean Sea, just writing to tell you I am me. That's who I be. I am love.
I love it. How about another one? Just scroll down and up and stop it as.
Wow. Okay.
Don't evaluate.
All right. This is the next one. Well, this is not mine. This is by Derek Walcott. It
Whatever you
says,
want to read is welcome. Yours, somebody else's.
I'm just gonna flow.
Yes.
It says, and this is by Derek Walcott. Walcott. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at others' welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the strangers who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you, and your life whom you ignored for another who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life.
I love it. That's good. That's so I'm going to read one and then you can conclude with another poem.
Okay,
Okay, does that make sense?
that's it.
Uh, and this is called "I'm the returning mother to the vacant womb,"
Mm.
and I think I mentioned it last time when we spoke here,
Mm-hmm.
but we never got to. Uh, so, and you think it's the end, and you think it's over, and you think it's done. Remembering the slowdown factors, stabbing the poor animal in the heart,
Mm.
leaving the scene of crime, dancing in the rain of deception. A real perspective, a true truth seeker amongst us. Arms around the right shoulder. Trust me, my flare of sharp insight. Reveal to me a moment of constructive sadness, a deliberate crack in the facade. They did not lessen the tension of dear flare on the moon. Moreover, the heat director flyby present of endearment belongings, this very moment of knockout, thrusting upward, that enriching champion in the giant of dwellings,
Mm.
willing to pay the price of speaking with the earth dripping, the undeniable whisper of the great digging grave of the queen, in the vivid scenario of vastness, as wide as can be, impossible to grasp, all to the second in command, the out of sync instincts, tuning mother of the vacant womb. As I passed, assuredly, I granted that same goodness embedded within my pure given sense of a will to give, to share, to pursue the call of intelligent inquiry. And so, research into the matter of sound blasting sweetness, I am the returning mother of the vacant womb. And don't be surprised to see me speak softly to the animal beside me. And don't be surprised. Don't ignore the image of melting intimacy of victims, your legacy of future offerings of generosity, the fading love of family, late night ritual soulmate brief freeze. You look and find poetry of the kind melancholia showcases so tenderly, in the purity of remembrance, navigating the easy angle of enduring the sense of purpose, the pride of tribe, embracing searcher plow wheel, surmounting everlasting wisdom from long travels into the willing child, self reflection, a self revealing in the pleasure of drought closure. And this is the conclusion. Why don't they nurture their own love of understanding family, the place for injecting tough love, the swing of constant renewal of the ancient, home of labor and permanence, to the right, to the left, in all directions, flawless and never signaling unnecessary distress into the pathway to personal heaven, my sweet, sworn in brain brother, never a spiteful ploy denier. We shall see.
Wow.
It's a crazy poem.
Wow. It's deep. It's deep. I will conclude with this. It's called Rainbow in the Cloud. And this is inspired by a quote from Maya Angelou. Try to be someone's rainbow in the cloud, guaranteed to turn someone's frown upside down. A great big hug and a beautiful cherry smile, comforting and healing, lasting for miles and miles. A listening ear, not a mumbling word, bringing peace from fear to protect and secure. Lending a hand when the going gets tough. Stepping in, stepping up when the cry is, I've had enough. A prepared dinner while the cook mends. A let's go dancing, kick up your heels with some sisterhood friends. So if it rains on their parade, break through, be their rainbow in the cloud.
That's beautiful. Okay, how about another shorty? Do you have another short one? This way we can conclude. We got like 5 minutes to go. Whether you believe it or not, we've been on the air for 55 minutes already.
Oh, this one's too heavy. I'm not going to do that one. That one's too heavy, for sure. Not the time for that one. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, we can.
Okay, this is one I see. I see me. I see my ancestors. I see me. I see you. Beautiful Afrocentric faces, noses, and eyes, the shades of beauty and the shades of our round, plump bottoms and thick thighs, and magnificent us. The blackness of richness, the divine love, and phenomenal intelligence and wisdom none can compare or none can duplicate. I finally, I fondly and joyfully embrace all that I am and provoke you to do the same. See you, see me, love me.
I love it. Fondly, finally. I like- and and just to answer you, two liners to the lights of feeding frenzy. Trip, tip, pit, lip, hip, grip, dip, lit. Grid, bid, sid, rid, hid, did. Pass, grass, mass, brass. Cheap, creep, sweep, tweet. Blink, silk, glimpse, sting. Grip, blip, rip, deep, peep. Peep, sleep, glance of treasures. And then the
I
rest I
love it.
cannot
I
read
love it.
because it's profanity. Because
But you know, it's so funny because we talk about too painting and poetry that also releases us. That
oh
also
yes,
it's like creation, it's our expression. Is I write my
yeah,
poems. I mean, I have some one I could have wrote read was really pretty deep, but
yes.
it was
But
my frustration
we'll
in
have
life.
session number 3 and session number 13 on this. But first of all, let me just say we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here this morning, Thursday morning, May 23rd, year 2024, here with the Halolo Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi. Thank you to my guest, Brenda Simmons. Of course, right around the corner, Memorial Day weekend. Be kind. Spare yourself from unnecessary pressure because it's going to be pressure in the face of pleasure, and be kind to those who don't know whether they want to make a turn or left turn. It's really, they don't mean to annoy you. It's just the nature of the beast. And so we are here to tell you that we think of you, we love you, we appreciate what it is that you're doing, even if you don't know, we're aware of the fact that you're doing. And we want to give Brenda the last word.
Be love.
Good. Thank you very much, Brenda. That was
Thank
so
you.
I put an end to your wonderings what it is that we're going to talk about, correct?
Absolutely.